So the impact of full-time versus contingent labor was, in this case, quite significant. And the reason being is a lot of the project-based work that our customers were doing, they put that initially on hold. So the initial impact affected us in terms of these, contingent labor force first. And then I think as the pandemic progressed, the impact was felt more in terms of FTEs and potential layoffs, furloughs, etc. We were hit hard initially, and that has kind of come down to, like I said, a plateau, and we are now trickling back up to where we were. Companies that put the projects non-essential on hold, albeit they were non-essential, they are still part of their plan. So those projects still need to be handled. So what we're seeing from a market standpoint is it's slowly bringing those resources back to start on a smaller scale. Now, how does that affect, potentially different than it would an FTE? Right now, what I'm seeing is that FTEs are going to be slower than contingent workers brought back, as the future is kind of uncertain. So what we're seeing is this smaller move to get back to the projects that we were doing prior to COVID-19. So what does the new normal look like as it relates to the staffing industry? It's an interesting topic. You'll ask 10 people, they might have 10 different answers. The landscape has changed significantly. I'm not 100% sure that we'll ever go back to pre-2020 as it relates to employees on site, employees in the office. A lot of the things that we did prior to 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic, I think have changed people. It's rattled people. What we are seeing, again, is the focus on remote work and distance work. How is that going to transform, the staffing industry? I think that's a question that is still yet to be determined. We're running into, a lot of our openings currently are remote, and we just had one the other day that they're actually going to be using their own devices, which quite honestly is a first for me in my 20 plus years. Usually the company provides a device. So in this time when it's challenged to get devices and laptops and things of that nature, it appears that companies are making, the change to enhance their security, their VPNs, whatever that might be. So they aren't necessarily attached to a device that is provided by the company. That is a significant change that we've seen. It obviously reduces a lot of costs. Moving forward, is that going to be a trend? I.e., are we going to hire more contingent labor? Are we going to hire more flexible staffing? Selfishly, I hope the answer is yes. That's what we do, and I think we do it pretty well. But, from a FTE standpoint, and this is my third recession, we'll call it, and typically the trend going into and coming out of is very slow on the FTE hire spectrum. Actually more of an increase in temporary labor, more flexibility. That gives the companies the ability to determine what that staffing model should look like. So there's high flexibility in it, and typically we see a little bit more of a kickstart as it relates to temporary staffing coming out of these situations, albeit this pandemic is unprecedented. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. We at PDS and our staffing group are not any different than any other company out there. The pandemic has had a significant impact on how we do business traditionally and how we are going to do business moving forward. Staffing generally, temporary, supplemental, providing contractors. It's a lot of understanding who you're dealing with. It's a lot of getting to know a person face to face. It's made it a challenge. Obviously, the technology that PDS has offered us, giving us the ability to work virtual and do a lot of video conferencing versus in person, has helped immensely. We do miss a great deal our ability to go out and discuss and have conversations and have lunch, maybe even a happy hour here and there with our contractors to see how their projects are going. We can't do that now. So it has impacted us to the point where, it's all virtual. It's all on a computer versus sitting down with somebody over lunch, asking how the family is, asking, what are their goals, what are their ambitions, and it's, I guess, the real person interaction is what we're missing, and it's been challenging, but we're making do with what we have.